June 28, 1944. 5 days into Operation Bagration. German Army Group Center collapsing faster than Red Army expected. Faster than anyone expected. Soviet High Command planned operation to last 8 weeks, pushed Germans back to Poland. Instead, German defenses disintegrating in less than a week. 3 major pockets forming: Vitebsk, Bobruisk, Minsk. Over 100,000 German soldiers already trapped. Wehrmacht units fleeing in complete disorder. Roads clogged with refugees, retreating soldiers, burning vehicles. Chaos. Total chaos. Organizational collapse. Command structure breaking down. Army Group Commander Field Marshal Ernst Busch requesting permission to withdraw. Hitler refuses. Orders stand fast. Hold positions. Every fortress becomes grave. Every stand becomes massacre. Red Army advancing on multiple axes simultaneously. Northern thrust toward Vitebsk, led by General Ivan Bagramyan's 1st Baltic Front. Central thrust toward Minsk, commanded by General Ivan Chernyakhovsky's 3rd Belarusian Front. Southern thrust toward Bobruisk, under Marshal Konstantin Rokossovsky's 1st Belarusian Front. Total force: 2.3 million Soviet soldiers, 5,200 tanks, 5,300 aircraft, 31,000 artillery pieces. Against them, 800,000 German soldiers, 900 tanks, 1,350 aircraft, 9,500 artillery pieces. Mathematics simple. Soviets have 3-to-1 advantage in manpower, 6-to-1 in tanks, 4-to-1 in aircraft, 3-to-1 in artillery. Numbers don't lie. Wehrmacht cannot win this battle, can only delay inevitable, can only choose how many perish before accepting reality. But Hitler forbids reality. Orders hold every position. Declares cities fortresses. Fortress means garrison fights to last man. Garrison commander personally responsible for defense. Retreat equals treason. Surrender equals execution. Policy designed to inspire resistance, instead creates catastrophe. German commanders trapped between Soviet armies destroying them and Hitler threatening execution for withdrawal. Choose slow elimination by Red Army or quick execution by SS. Most choose slow elimination. Hope for miracle. Hope for relief. Hope for anything except accepting end. Vitebsk encircled first. June 24th, Soviet pincers close around city. 35,000 German soldiers from Leiter-Priva Corps trapped inside. General Friedrich Gollwitzer commands garrison. Requests permission to break out before encirclement complete. Denied. Hitler declares Vitebsk fortress. Hold at all costs. Gollwitzer knows holding impossible. Soviets outnumber defenders 10-to-1. Have complete air superiority. Artillery pounds city continuously. Infantry probing defenses everywhere. Matter of time before breakthrough. Days maybe. Hours possibly. Gollwitzer makes decision. June 26th, orders breakout attempt without authorization. Court-martial later better than elimination now. Organizes remaining mobile units for thrust southwest. Leaves rear guard of 8,000 men holding city to cover escape. Sacrifice 8,000 to save 27,000. Brutal mathematics, but only option. Soviet intelligence detects movement. Rokossovsky anticipates breakout route. Positions reserves to block. Deploys artillery to create fire barrier. Sends tank brigades to intercept. Germans walk into ambush. Breakout begins 0300 hours June 27th. German column advances through darkness. Initial progress good. Overrun first Soviet positions. Capture surprised outposts. Push 3 kilometers. Then artillery barrage begins. Katyusha rockets illuminate night sky like fireworks. Except fireworks don't shred human bodies. Don't vaporize tanks. Don't create craters swallowing entire squads. German column disintegrates under bombardment. Vehicles burning. Soldiers running in all directions. Officers shouting unheard orders. Chaos replacing organization. Soviet tanks arrive at dawn. T-34s emerging from tree lines on both flanks. Germans have no anti-tank weapons adequate against T-34 armor from this range. Panzerfausts effective only at close range. Artillery already eliminated in barrage. Infantry alone against armor equals massacre. Tanks methodically crushing resistance. Machine guns sweeping German positions. Main guns firing point-blank into formations. German soldiers surrender in groups. Some keep fighting. Some flee into swamps. Most perish or captured. By noon, June 27th, breakout attempt completely failed. Gollwitzer and 20,000 survivors stumble back toward Vitebsk. Find city already fallen. Soviet infantry occupying ruins, nowhere to retreat, surrounded completely. Gollwitzer surrenders evening, June 27th. 35,000-man garrison, 8,000 perish, 27,000 captured. Fortress held 3 days. Hitler expected months. Bobruisk encirclement develops simultaneously. Rokossovsky's first Belarusian front attacks southward. Plan: bypass city, encircle from rear, crush garrison against Berezina River. German defenders, parts of XXXXV Corps and XLI Panzer Corps, maybe 70,000 soldiers total. Mix of infantry divisions, security regiments, artillery units. Commander: General Hans Jordan, professional soldier. Realistic assessment of situation. Knows position hopeless. Requests permission withdraw immediately. Hitler refuses. Declares Bobruisk fortress. Garrison must hold. Jordan sees writing on wall. Soviet tanks break through German lines, June 26th. 1st Guards Tank Corps pushes deep into German rear areas. 3rd Guards Tank Corps follows close behind. Within 24 hours, pincers meet west of Bobruisk. 70,000 Germans trapped. Jordan requests permission breakout. Again denied. Wehrmacht Chief of Staff General Heinz Guderian personally calls Jordan. Explains Hitler adamant. No withdrawal. Bobruisk must hold. Jordan asks, hold with what? Courage? Patriotism? Good intentions? Soviets have tanks, artillery, aircraft. We have depleted divisions and empty promises. Guderian has no answer. Can't authorize withdrawal. Can't ignore reality either. Tells Jordan quietly, do what you must. History will judge us all. Hangs up. Jordan understands. Unauthorized to withdraw officially. Unofficially encouraged to try. June 28th, Jordan organizes breakout. Unlike Vitebsk, doesn't leave rear guard, takes everyone. 70,000 soldiers attempt simultaneous breakthrough southward toward German lines. Massive column stretches kilometers. Moves at night, hoping to avoid Soviet air attack. Doesn't work. Soviet intelligence tracks every movement. Frontline aviation attacks at dawn, June 29th. Sturmovix dive from morning sun. Bombs, rockets, cannons shredding column. German anti-aircraft fire minimal. Most flak guns abandoned during retreat. Soldiers scatter into forests seeking cover. Column fragments into dozens of separate groups, each trying to reach German lines independently. Most fail. Soviet blocking forces deployed across every escape route. Tank brigades at crossroads. Infantry dug in along forest edges. Artillery pre-registered on likely paths. German groups stumble into prepared positions repeatedly. Each encounter brief, brutal, one-sided. Soviet firepower overwhelming. Germans lack heavy weapons, mostly just small arms. Rifles against tanks, pistols against machine gun nests. Courage against mathematics. Mathematics wins, always wins. 3 days of fighting in forests south of Bobruisk. Germans dodging Soviet patrols, avoiding main roads, crossing swamps, hiding in daylight, moving at night. Hunger, exhaustion, injuries, fear, desperation. Groups getting smaller daily. Some surrender. Some perish fighting. Some just disappear into wilderness, never seen again. By July 1st, Bobruisk pocket completely eliminated. Of 70,000 trapped, 18,000 perish, 50,000 captured, 2,000 escaped to German lines. 2,000. 3% survival rate. 97% casualties. Fortress held 5 days. Minsk encirclement forms differently. Not sudden pocket like Vitebsk or Bobruisk, gradual compression over week. Soviet forces advancing from north, east, south. Squeezing city like vice. German commanders watching maps showing red arrows converging. Knowing what comes next. Requesting permission, withdraw. Denied, repeatedly. 4th Army Commander General Kurt von Tippelskirch pleads with Army Group Center headquarters. Minsk cannot hold. Garrison will be encircled and eliminated. Request authorization withdraw west immediately. Field Marshal Bush, recently replaced by Field Marshal Walter Model, now authorized to allow tactical withdrawals. Too late. Soviets already deep in German rear, withdrawing into encirclement rather than out of it. July 3rd, Soviet pincers close west of Minsk. Over 100,000 German soldiers trapped. 4th Army, 9th Army remnants. Various corps headquarters. Support units. Retreating stragglers from Vitebsk and Bobruisk. Administrative personnel. Luftwaffe ground crews. Everyone fleeing east now trapped in massive pocket. Largest encirclement of operations so far. Stalin expects complete victory. Zhukov coordinates assault from Moscow. Rokossovsky manages tactical operations. Red Army closes in from all sides. German situation inside pocket deteriorating hourly. No organized supply system. Food running out. Ammunition critically low. Medical supplies exhausted. Thousands of wounded lying in makeshift aid stations with no treatment available. Just morphine when available. Nothing when not. Soldiers dying from treatable injuries because no medicine, no bandages, no surgery, just suffering, just waiting, just ending. Soviet artillery bombards pocket continuously, day and night, shells falling randomly across entire area. No safe zones, no rear areas, nowhere to hide, just endure. Try surviving. Pray shell doesn't land on you. Statistical game where everyone loses eventually. Infantry probes from all directions testing defenses, finding weak points, exploiting gaps, pushing deeper, collapsing perimeter daily. July 8th, Soviet forces penetrate final defensive line. Tank brigades pour through breach. Infantry follows. Resistance crumbles. German units disintegrating. Some continue fighting. Others surrender immediately. Others just sit down. Stop fighting. Stop trying. Accept end. Soviet soldiers processing thousands of prisoners, overwhelming POW camps. Guards improvising processing stations. Just take weapons. Point toward rear. Tell them walk east. Hundreds of thousands of POWs walking east through Belarus. Endless columns. Defeated army marching into captivity. General Model appointed Army Group Center Commander June 28th, replacing Bush, who Hitler blames for disaster. Model known as firefighter, specialist in defensive operations, stabilizing collapsing fronts. Worked miracles at Rzhev. Stopped Soviet winter offensive, 1941-42. Held Kharkov, 1943. Maybe can stop Bagration too. But Model surveys situation and realizes this different. Not stabilizing front. Not conducting elastic defense. This complete collapse. Army group disintegrating. Divisions scattered. Corps headquarters overrun. Supply lines severed. Communications broken. Can't stabilize what doesn't exist anymore. Model requests reinforcements immediately. OKW, German High Command, sends what available. 2 Panzer divisions from Army Group North. 3 infantry divisions from reserve. Luftwaffe field divisions. Assorted replacement battalions. Total reinforcements may be 80,000 men. Casualties already exceed 400,000. Sending 80,000 to replace 400,000 like bailing ocean with teaspoon. Gesture, not solution. But Hitler expects miracles from Model. Model knows miracles don't exist, just hard decisions and calculated retreats. Neither authorized currently. July 10th, Minsk pocket eliminated. Final organized resistance collapses. 100,000 Germans surrounded, 30,000 perish, 65,000 captured, 5,000 escape. Soviets capture city intact. Liberation celebration in Minsk streets. Belarusian civilians celebrating end of 3-year German occupation. Red Army parading through city center. Propaganda films showing victory. Newsreels broadcast across Soviet Union. Stalin declares Minsk liberation, demonstrates Red Army superiority, validates Soviet system, proves inevitable victory, uses Bagration's success to demand Western allies open Second Front immediately. Except Second Front already opened Normandy 2 weeks ago. Stalin knows this, doesn't care, demands more, always demands more. Western media barely covers Bagration. June to July 1944, focus entirely on Normandy. D-Day June 6th, breakout operations, liberation of Cherbourg, battle for Caen. British and American newspapers full of Allied successes. France, Soviet victories, Belarus mentioned briefly, if at all. BBC broadcasts concentrate on Western Front. American radio reports focus on Pacific Campaign and European Second Front. Bagration. Footnote. Maybe paragraph on page 12. Maybe nothing. Why ignored? Multiple reasons. Political. Western allies want emphasizing own contributions to victory. Normandy landings impressive, logistically complex, strategically significant. Good story. Heroic narrative. Allies landing in France, liberating Europe, defeating Hitler. Clean story. Soviet operations messy, complicated. Involve allies, Soviet Union, who will become enemies, Cold War. Better focus on own achievements. Geographic. Belarus distant from Western consciousness. France significant. Historic. Cultural connections. Americans care about Paris. British care about Normandy beaches. Nobody cares about Minsk. Vitebsk. Bobruisk. Names don't resonate. Places don't matter. Ideological. Highlighting Soviet victories strengthens Stalin's position post-war. Western governments already worried about Soviet expansion. Don't want promoting Soviet military prowess. Better minimize Eastern Front coverage. Emphasize Western contributions. Shape historical narrative favorable to Western interests. Result? Bagration forgotten by Western audiences. Ask random American about largest German defeat, WW2. They'll say Stalingrad maybe. Kursk possibly? D-Day probably. Nobody says Bagration. Because nobody taught Bagration. Because nobody covered Bagration. Because politically convenient to forget Bagration. Soviet Union dissolved 1991. Archives opened. Historians finally access complete documentation. Full scope of Bagration becomes clear. Western historians stunned. How did this not get covered? How did we not know? How did largest German defeat in history become footnote? Numbers tell story, Western media buried. Total German casualties. Operation Bagration, June 23, August 19, 1944, 400,000. For comparison, Stalingrad, November 1942, February 1943, 300,000 German casualties. Kursk, July 1943, 170,000 German casualties. Normandy Campaign, June-August 1944, 240,000 German casualties. Bagration exceeded them all. Single operation, 8 weeks, 400,000 casualties. 28 divisions completely destroyed, ceasing to exist, not retreating, not reorganizing, gone, eliminated, removed from order of battle. Wehrmacht never recovers. Eastern Front never stabilizes. Road to Berlin opened. Individual stories emerge from statistics. Young German soldier, age 19, conscripted 1943. Sent Eastern Front, January 1944. Survived 6 months of defensive fighting. Experienced, hardened, knows how to survive. When Bagration begins, His regiment holds village east of Minsk. First day, artillery barrage lasting 3 hours. Bunker collapses. 3 friends buried alive. Spend day digging them out. Find bodies. Second day, Soviet tanks breakthrough. Regiment ordered counterattack. 40 men attack 20 tanks. Suicidal. 10 men survive. Fall back to next village. Third day, encircled. Soviet infantry everywhere. No food, no ammunition, no orders, just survive. Fourth day, tries breaking out alone. Gets separated from unit. Wanders through forest 3 days. Eventually stumbles into Soviet patrol. Surrenders. Survives. Becomes POW. One of lucky ones. Survives war. Returns home, 1950. Can't talk about Bagration. Too painful. Too traumatic. Too much guilt for surviving when so many didn't. German officer, Major Commanding Battalion, career soldier, professional, sees situation hopeless, June 25th. Requests permission, withdraw. Denied. June 26th, position overrun. Retreats to fallback line. June 27th, surrounded. Organizes defense. June 28th, breaks out with 300 men, fights through Soviet lines, loses 150 men escaping. June 29th, regroups, 150 men left, receives orders, hold river crossing. June 30th, Soviets attack with tank brigade. 150 men versus 50 tanks. Holds 4 hours. Retreat after losing 80 men. July 1st, 70 men remain. Ordered counterattack. Refuses. Told he'll be court-martialed. Doesn't care anymore. Withdraws anyway. July 2nd, reaches German lines with 45 men surviving. Started with 800. Ends with 45. 6% survival. 94% casualties. Court-martial never happens. Too many officers making same decisions. Too many unauthorized withdrawals. Can't prosecute everyone. Just note in personnel file. Continue war. Soviet perspective reveals planning sophistication. Western histories miss. Bagration, not accident. Not lucky breakthrough. Carefully planned operation drawing lessons from 3 years Eastern Front combat. Stavka, Soviet High Command, identifying Army Group Center as strategic target, February 1944. 6 months planning. 3 months preparation. Massive deception operation convincing Germans main attack coming Ukraine. Germans shift reserves south. Leave Belarus weakly defended. Perfect setup. Soviet tactical innovations numerous. Maskirovka, deception, used extensively. False radio traffic suggesting concentration southern sector. Dummy tank formations visible from German reconnaissance aircraft. Real tank armies hidden forests, moved only at night, camouflaged during day. German intelligence completely deceived. Estimates Soviet strength Belarus at 1.2 million. Actual strength, 2.3 million. Off by almost double. Fatal miscalculation. Artillery preparation refined since early war disasters. 1941-1942. Soviet artillery wasted ammunition in unfocused bombardments. 1944. Surgical precision. Pre-attack reconnaissance identifies every German strongpoint. Artillery registered on each target. Bombardment begins with simultaneous strike on all identified positions. Then, rolling barrage advancing ahead of infantry. Suppressing German artillery. Disrupting communications. Creating gaps for exploitation. German defenses shredded before infantry even attacks. Tank employment shows Soviet learning curve. 1941. Tanks committed piecemeal, destroyed by German anti-tank guns. 1944. Tank armies held in reserve until breakthrough achieved, then committed en masse through gap. Penetrate deep into German rear. Create encirclements. German infantry can't stop massed tank formations. German anti-tank guns overwhelmed by numbers. German reserves too dispersed to concentrate effective counterattack. Soviet tanks roam freely once breakthrough achieved. Nightmare for Wehrmacht. Air superiority complete. Soviet Air Force learned lessons from Luftwaffe 1941-42, now applying them ruthlessly. Fighter sweeps destroy German aircraft on ground. Fighter bombers attack retreating columns. Ground attack aircraft provide close air support to advancing infantry. Germans have no answer. Luftwaffe too weak, too dispersed, too defeated. Soviet pilots flying with impunity. Germans experiencing what they inflicted on Soviets 1941. Turnabout, payback, justice. Logistics often ignored aspect that makes Bagration possible. Red Army in 1941 had no effective supply system. Units outran logistics, stalled, got counterattacked. 1944, sophisticated supply network supporting 2 million soldiers advancing hundreds of kilometers. Trucks, trains, horses, pre-positioned supply dumps, mobile repair facilities, field hospitals, everything needed to sustain offensive. Germans always underestimated Soviet logistical capability, assumed Russians couldn't organize effective supply. Wrong. Fatally wrong. Soviet logistics in 1944 support largest offensive in history. Wehrmacht never achieves equivalent capability Eastern Front. Soviet coordination between fronts demonstrates maturity of Red Army 1944. Multiple fronts attacking simultaneously, maintaining contact, preventing German reserves shifting between sectors. When Army Group Center sends reserves north toward Vitebsk, Rokossovsky attacks south toward Bobruisk. When Germans reinforce Bobruisk, Chernyakhovsky strikes toward Minsk. Germans shuttling reserves like putting out fires with buckets. Can't concentrate force anywhere. Soviets maintaining initiative throughout operation. Dictating tempo, controlling battle. Wehrmacht reduced to reacting. Always behind, always late, always losing. July 15th, Soviet forces advance beyond pre-war Soviet border into Poland. Symbolic moment. Liberating territory. Reversing 1941 invasion. Red Army now offensive force carrying war to Germany. Stalin jubilant. Propaganda emphasizes restoration of Soviet territory. Liberation of occupied lands. Coming vengeance against Nazi Germany. Soviet soldiers motivated by thought of revenge. 3 years German occupation. Mass atrocities. Holocaust. Partisan warfare. Villages burned. Civilians shot. Now, payback time. Some discipline problems as Soviet troops enter German-populated areas. Looting, violence, attacks on civilians. Officers try maintaining order. Sometimes successful. Often not. Soldiers remember what Germans did in Soviet Union. Hard to preach mercy when own families eliminated. German retreat increasingly chaotic. Units losing contact with higher headquarters. Radio communications jammed by Soviets or destroyed by airstrikes. Commanders making independent decisions. Some heroic last stands buying time for others to escape. Some panicked flights abandoning equipment and wounded. Some surrenders without fight. Morale collapsed completely. Soldiers knowing war lost. Question becomes, survive or follow orders to eliminate? Many choosing survival. Many deserting. Many surrendering first opportunity. Wehrmacht discipline fraying. Officer corps demoralized. NCOs struggling to maintain cohesion. Soldiers just trying to live. July 20th, attempt on Hitler's life by German officers. Stauffenberg bomb. Failed. Purge begins. Wehrmacht officer corps devastated. Anyone suspected of disloyalty arrested. Some involved in plot. Many not. Paranoia consuming German high command. Meanwhile, Eastern Front collapsing. Army Group Center destroyed. Soviets advancing into Poland. Germany facing disaster. Hitler responds by eliminating own officers. Madness. Complete madness. Strategic situation desperate. Hitler's solution. Execute more generals. Problems persist regardless. Model continues fighting retreat through July, trying to establish defensive line along Bug River. Soviets too fast. Cross Bug before Germans establish positions. Next line? Vistula River. Maybe can hold there. Buy time for reinforcements. Re-establish front. Except reinforcements don't exist. Wehrmacht casualties exceeding replacements. Training camps emptied. Old men and boys conscripted. Inadequately trained. Poorly equipped. Cannon fodder. Delays not victories. Wehrmacht bleeding to exhaustion. By August 1st, Operation Bagration achieves all objectives. Belarus liberated. Army Group Center destroyed. Soviet forces across pre-war border into Poland. Ready to launch next phase. Vistula Oder offensive, leading to Berlin. Hitler's Eastern Empire crumbling. Territory conquered 1941, liberated by 1944. 3 years of occupation ending. Red Army unstoppable. Wehrmacht broken. Road to Berlin open. Final tally, August 19, 1944. End of Bagration. German casualties 400,000. 300,000 captured, 100,000 perish. 28 divisions destroyed completely. 17 German generals captured or perish. 1,000 tanks lost. 10,000 artillery pieces captured. Territory liberated, 350,000 square kilometers. Distance advanced, 600 kilometers. Soviet casualties, 180,000. 60,000 perish. 120,000 wounded. Favorable exchange ratio for Soviets. Wehrmacht suffering irreplaceable losses. Red Army losses replaced within months. Mathematics of attrition favoring Soviets increasingly. Compared to simultaneous Normandy campaign, Allied casualties June-August 1944, 210,000, 37,000 perish, 173,000 wounded captured. German casualties, Western Front, same period, 240,000, 23,000 perish, 217,000 captured, wounded. Roughly even. Contrast to Eastern Front. Soviets inflicting 400,000 German casualties while suffering 180,000. Eastern Front remains primary theater, main battle, where war decided. Western Front secondary, though politically emphasized. Soviet Victory Parade, Moscow, July 17, 1944. 57,000 German POWs marched through streets. Symbolic humiliation. Demonstrating Soviet victory. Showing Red Army superiority. Stalin attending. Filmed. Photographed. Broadcast worldwide. Message clear. Soviet Union winning war. Stalin vindicated. Communism triumphant. Germans defeated. Western allies? Secondary contributors? Soviet narrative beginning to form? Narrative that dominates Eastern European understanding decades. Western response muted. Congratulations sent. Recognition of Soviet contribution. But minimal media coverage. Focus remains on Allied progress France, liberation of Paris. August 25th dominates headlines. Bagration, old news by then. Happened June-July. Paris happening now. Current events matter. History already forgotten. Soviet annoyance grows. Fighting, bleeding, winning while Western media ignores. Seeds of Cold War being planted. Mistrust growing. Alliance straining. Victory not even achieved yet, already contemplating post-war rivalry. Individual soldiers' perspective shows human cost statistics conceal. Hans Schmidt, German soldier captured at Minsk, survives war, returns 1950. Interview 1990s asks, "What was Bagration like?" He responds, "Hell, complete hell. Constant artillery. Tanks everywhere. Aircraft strafing. No food, no ammunition, no hope. Just surviving minute to minute. Watching friends perish. Watching units disintegrate. Watching army collapse. Nothing in training prepared for that. Nothing could prepare for that. Just experienced war changing. Wehrmacht invincible 1941. Wehrmacht broken 1944. We felt it. Every soldier felt it. War was lost. We knew. But orders said fight. So fought. Until couldn't anymore. Then surrendered. Then prison camps. then going home 6 years after leaving. To country didn't recognize, to family that moved on, to life that no longer existed. Survived Bagration. Took years to survive peace. Soviet soldier Ivan Petrov, rifleman in 3rd Shock Army, describes advance. We moved so fast, couldn't keep up with tank units, advancing 30 kilometers daily sometimes, passing destroyed German equipment, burned villages, dead bodies, prisoners everywhere, columns of prisoners walking east, thousands, tens of thousands, so many couldn't count. We stopped being surprised, just accepted. Germans defeated. We winning. Simple as that. Officers told us, keep advancing. Don't stop. Push to Berlin. End war. Kill fascism. Avenge comrades. Avenge civilians. Avenge motherland. We believed. After 3 years defensive fighting, finally advancing, finally winning, finally seeing end, motivated like never before. Strategic implications of Bagration exceed immediate territory gains. Wehrmacht losing Army Group Center means Eastern Front shortened by 300 kilometers. Fewer kilometers requires fewer troops to defend. But Wehrmacht doesn't have troops to defend even shortened line. Reserves exhausted. Training pipeline depleted. Allied bombing destroying industry. Oil production crippled. Synthetic fuel plants targeted. Luftwaffe grounded from fuel shortage. Wehrmacht mechanized divisions immobilized. Horses replacing trucks. 1944, Germany relying on horses like 1914. Technology advantage gone. Industrial superiority lost. Numerical inferiority worsening. Mathematics guarantee defeat. Only question, when and how, not if. Model establishes temporary defensive line August 1944 along Vistula River. Holds briefly. Soviets pause to consolidate gains. Regroup, resupply, prepare next offensive. Temporary respite. Allows Germans catching breath. But breathing room just delays inevitable. Vistula line holds until January 1945. Then Vistula-Oder offensive smashes through. Soviet tanks reach Oder River, 60 kilometers from Berlin. End clearly visible. Germany surrounded. Soviet Union from east. Western allies from west. Italy from south. Nowhere to retreat. Nowhere to hide. Just await end. Historical memory of Bagration varies by geography and politics. Soviet Union, celebrated as great victory. Validation of Red Army improvements. Demonstration of Stalin's leadership. Every Soviet schoolchild learned Bagration. Standard curriculum. Required knowledge. Anniversary commemorated annually. Monuments erected. Museums opened. Veterans honored. Belarus. Liberation from Nazi occupation. Freedom from 3 years' terror. Minsk rebuilding from rubble. Soviet victory enabling reconstruction. Gratitude mixed with recognition of Soviet occupation replacing German occupation. Different oppressor, same lack of freedom. Germany, catastrophe and humiliation. Worst defeat in military history. Wehrmacht destroyed beyond recovery. Officers purged. Soldiers captured or perish. National trauma. Subject avoided post-war. Too painful. Too embarrassing. Too much like failure. West, largely unknown. Footnote to D-Day. Minor battle compared to Normandy. Soviet victory barely covered. Cold War politics ensuring minimal attention. Better promoting Western contributions than Soviet achievements. Modern reassessment reveals Bagration's true significance. Historians with access to complete archives understanding magnitude. D-Day impressive logistically, but relatively limited strategically. Established Second Front. Engaged maybe 50 German divisions in West. Bagration destroyed 28 divisions completely. Engaged 100-plus divisions Eastern Front. Forced Germany fighting two-front war couldn't sustain. Between Bagration and Normandy, Germany losing 640,000 soldiers in 8 weeks. Irreplaceable losses, fatal bleeding, Wehrmacht never recovering. 1944 proves decisive year, not because any single battle, because cumulative effect multiple offensives overwhelming German capacity to resist. Casualty comparison illuminates Eastern Front primacy. Total German casualties, WW2, approximately 5.3 million Eastern Front casualties, approximately 4 million, and 75%. Western Front casualties, approximately 1 million, 19%. Other theaters, approximately $300,000, 6%. Three-quarters of German casualties on Eastern Front. Soviet Union bearing overwhelming burden defeating Germany. Western contribution significant, but proportionally smaller. Bagration exemplifies this. Single Soviet operation inflicting more casualties than entire Normandy campaign. Yet Western histories emphasize Normandy. Why? Politics, ideology, national pride. Easier celebrating own achievements than acknowledging others, especially when others become Cold War enemies. Post-war Soviet historiography overcorrects opposite direction, claiming sole credit defeating Hitler, minimizing Western contributions, depicting Normandy as minor sideshow, Western allies as opportunists waiting until Germany weakened before engaging. Historical truth more nuanced. Both fronts mattered, both contributions significant. But proportional significance differed. Eastern Front primary theater, where most fighting occurred, where most casualties accumulated, where war ultimately decided. Western Front, important, but secondary. Supporting operation, not main effort. Uncomfortable truth for Western audiences. Accurate, nevertheless. Survivor testimony provides ground truth statistics miss. German POW Hermann Klein, captured at Bobruisk, describes experience. 5 weeks changed everything. June 23rd, we thought we could hold. Wehrmacht still strong. Soviet attacks could be repulsed. Fortifications would hold. We believed propaganda. 5 weeks later, army group gone. Everything we believed proven false. Soviets stronger than admitted. Wehrmacht weaker than acknowledged. War lost. We knew. Every soldier knew. Some accepted. Some denied. But everyone knew. Couldn't be hidden anymore. Couldn't be explained away. Facts too obvious. Reality too brutal. Defeat too complete. Surrender became logical choice. Not cowardice. Mathematics. Can't fight without ammunition. Can't defend without weapons. Can't win without hope. We had none of those. So surrendered. Survived. That's what matters, ultimately. Survived. Soviet veteran Alexander Ivanov remembers differently. Bagration proved we learned from mistakes. 1941-1942, we lost because poorly prepared, poorly equipped, poorly led. 1944, everything different. Good intelligence, good planning, good equipment, good leadership, good execution. We destroyed Army Group Center not because lucky, because competent, because learned lessons, because applied knowledge, because Red Army by 1944 was professional force. Wehrmacht discovered this hard way. They taught us how to fight 1941, we taught them how to lose 1944, fair trade. Both perspectives valid. Truth incorporates both. Wehrmacht in 1944, no longer invincible force of 1941. Weakened by 3 years' attrition. Leadership purged. Resources depleted. Allies surrounding. Red Army in 1944, no longer disorganized mass of 1941. Professional army. Modern tactics. Adequate equipment. Motivated soldiers. Competent leadership. Learning curve steep but ascended. Result? Role reversal. Hunters becoming hunted. Victors becoming victims. Historical irony of complete victory becoming total defeat. Comparison of Bagration to famous battles reveals unique characteristics. Stalingrad. Larger total casualties, 2 million versus 580,000, but longer duration, 5 months versus 8 weeks. Urban warfare. Slow grinding battle. Strategic significance comparable. Kursk, smaller scope, 170,000 German casualties versus $400,000. Defensive victory. Stopped German offensive. Significant, but not catastrophic for Wehrmacht. Normandy. Similar duration. Lower German casualties, 240,000 versus $400,000. Successful Allied landing. Established second front. Strategic significance high. Tactical impact lower. Moscow, 1941. Defensive victory. Stopped German advance. Prevented capital capture. Strategic significance extreme, but didn't destroy German army. Berlin, 1945. Final battle. Symbolic importance immense, but Germany already defeated by then. Formality, not turning point. Bagration stands unique. Destroyed entire army group. Liberated vast territory. Opened road to Berlin. Changed strategic situation fundamentally. All in 8 weeks. All in single operation. All planned and executed successfully. Few military operations in history compare. Final assessment. Operation Bagration represents peak of Soviet military capability WW2. Perfect combination of deception, firepower, mobility, combined arms, and operational art. Wehrmacht couldn't counter, couldn't adapt, couldn't survive. Result: largest German defeat in history, yet forgotten by Western audiences, buried by politics, ignored by preference, overshadowed by Normandy. Historical injustice to millions who fought, to hundreds of thousands who perished, to operation that changed war's trajectory. Remember Bagration. Remember where war was really decided. Remember Eastern Front primacy. Remember Soviet sacrifice. Remember truth regardless of Cold War politics. History demands accuracy. Bagration deserves recognition.